World leaders and climate change experts have called for a unified approach to spearhead Africa's agenda at the Conference of Parties, that is COP28, slated for November this year at the United Arab Emirates. They say common priorities would accelerate transition into equitable and orderly energy to propel the continent's economies towards a new low-carbon, high-growth, sustainable socio-economic model.
Negotiations, backroom deals, and lists of demands are cranking up ahead of COP28, which will be hosted by the United Arab Emirates in November. A sweeping plan put together by COP28 President-designate Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber targets to seal a climate agreement. Towards this goal, Africa needs to re-strategize its climate action frameworks in its quest for a new type of climate action.
As we move close to the 1.5 degree goal of the Paris Agreement, impacts will rise, and we're already bearing witness to this. And these impacts are being disproportionately felt in countries and regions like Africa that have contributed the least to the climate crisis.
Additionally, governments ought to fully integrate youth views and proposals in global climate policy making and dialogues. This is set to build youth skills, capacity, knowledge and networks, particularly in the most impacted countries, to engage in climate processes. They also urged development partners to ramp up funding on climate mitigation and adaptation systems.
One of the key asks that young people put forward through this assembly is that we want to be systematically embedded, because this is the time when young people are no longer going to be conference attendees or watching from the sidelines, but they have proven that they are actually solution providers, and they are innovating and bringing ideas that are shaping and changing the face of our continent and driving Africa's green growth agenda.
They also urged development partners to ramp up funding on climate mitigation and adaptation systems if Africa is to transition from fossil fuels to greener options.
The blossoming of a heartwarming tale of a humble seed that grows into a magnificent tree of inclusion, of unity. Let us continue to nourish it with implementation and with action.
The Africa Climate Summit has provided stepping stones towards building a new climate finance architecture that is inclusive, brings more private finance to the table, and operates at the scale required for developing countries to adapt and mitigate. The Africa Climate Summit has provided stepping stones towards building a new climate finance architecture that is inclusive, brings more private finance to the table, and operates at the scale required for developing countries to adapt and mitigate.
The three-day Africa Climate Summit has seen Africa recognized as a global leader in the transition towards greener growth, supplemented by calls that will see a review of policies, accelerate funding into the African continent for climate change initiatives. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Ndota Mokami.